do not give up. This is for the people out there that are facing a mountain, facing a hardship, something that they think is impossible to climb, like it can't be done. But I'm here to tell you that it can be done, and you have the power to start scaling that mountain. This is for those specific people, those specific problems that people have, but it's also for just everyone in general. I think anyone is going to have something to take away from this video because of what's happening in the world. Look at what's happening with AI. It's, taking the purpose and artistry from artists. I mean, and that is a deep, soulful thing that people take pride in, and it's valuable. It's very valuable, and it's being stripped from us. Okay, these artificial minds, they're taking away jobs, and it is devaluing the human being and taking away, the essence and power of the individual. We're collectively moving toward what I believe is a hive mind. Yeah, way to start off a motivational video with some dark, negative stuff, but that can be overcome, and we should not give up. Okay, I'm in this fight too. This is partially for me. This is kind of a cathartic admission here. We can't back away from something just because it's difficult, of course. I keep having these conversations lately with people and I'm going to tell you why they're defeated before they even attempt to make the climb. If we're still using that mountain metaphor, whatever this issue, whatever this job you want, this illness, whatever it is, this injuries, whatever it is, your language can almost guarantee that you're going to be defeated before you even step into the ring with this thing. Okay, and this is so prevalent everywhere, and everybody, it seems to be this type of humor that's going around on the internet where it's self-deprecating. And I'm a fan of self-deprecating humor. I think it's hilarious in certain aspects, but it's this thing where we're constantly downing ourselves and degrading ourselves by saying, I can't do this, I can't do that. And I'm gonna bring up that word can't, which I think is just totally toxic. Before we even put in a real effort into stepping and facing these problems, we use this language that is self-defeating in the first place. Now, you may say, I'm gonna try, things can get better, but, and it's your body language too. Body language is a huge, it's now been proven to have a physiological effect, a mental effect, a spiritual effect. It can, if you want to take it that far. There are ways in which you project yourself that will sure up a spiritual or mental defeat before you even get started. You have to believe. You have to believe in yourself. And it's not even because when I say that, and when you do this, you don't just believe it for the sake of believing. And it's not an ego thing. It's not a feeding of the ego. It's just you objectively look at the problem and you tell yourself, I'm going to step up and face it. And if it knocks me down, it knocks me down. Okay? And it is a choice. The words we use have power. And I've had many conversations about this. When you speak about your problems and you put that negativity out there, there are forces. You can call it the placebo effect, call it, mental inconsistency, call it reverberations in the matrix, but I'm going to call it a spiritual issue. And I'm going to paraphrase some biblical verses, but one of them is that when you speak these things, you almost speak these things into existence themselves. These negative energy fields can almost become entities. Now I digress on that. I mean, we're going to use that as for the sake of this point that I'm trying to make, and use it as a metaphor. But it's almost as if they're these little demonic beings that sort of it seems, if you really think about it, if there is evil in the world, how much of it is actually visible? I mean, I'm going to use the spiritual world metaphor, and I think it's only partially a metaphor. I think a lot of this is literal in a lot of ways. But when you speak these things, it's almost like you give life to a we'll call it a demonic creature whose sole purpose is to see you fail, because you've spoken that into it. I can't do this. This is too difficult. I'll never get out of this. And you speak it into existence, and now it's proliferated, and it sort of, I mean, we can say that it adds to the collective negativity of the world, but just as an individual, in the case of an individual, it's just the amount of weight that you put on yourself. You put up so much baggage. There's this stuff stays in the ether, man. It's around you. Have you ever been around someone who's just constantly, and Proverbs says to, where there are many words, there is much sin. It's like inescapable. Anyone who talks a lot all the time is not going to be able to avoid these destructive, evil behaviors and proliferating, and sort of, it's momentum. All that momentum and life given to these entities, we'll call them, around us to assure up more evil. It's just investing in evil. But there's a dichotomy there. It can work for the positive too, because first off, it's a choice. You can speak. You don't even have to necessarily speak positively. I'm one of these people that, take it from me, I am not, if I'm dealing with a problem, it's much easier for me to just keep silent. And that's a good thing. That is a good thing. And sometimes that's really hard, because the negative stuff wants to come flying out. But you can control that. In the process of staying silent, you starve that negativity in so many ways. That's why it's good to just be still, and prayer works, man. I will tell you from firsthand experience, prayer works. It has gotten me out of situations and obstacles that I can't even, I'm not going to go into detail right now, but it's just amazing. If you just cut off the valve to that negativity, and I'm talking about speaking, and it's easy to you see someone and they'll even ask you, they'll be like, hey, what, you seem down today. And sometimes it's best just not to even speak about it, to ignore it. Maybe ignore isn't the right word, but just to not feed in to how it's making you feel and getting into that negative, it's a feedback loop, because it can potentially make things worse. You have to remember that in that, you have a choice, okay? You do not have to, you have no obligation to speak your mind about what's going on internally. I think there's a lot of wisdom in letting your battles be your battles, and they stay between you and God. And there is an insane amount of wisdom in that. I can't even express it. Just I'm talking about firsthand experience. I can't even put into words, because I kept something between he and I, that it just, I don't want to say completely resolved itself, but he got me through some obstacles that were just, well, I guess I'm going to break my own rules. They were impossible. And I was the guy who was saying that, I can't do this. It's impossible. It's never going to happen. And it's like, what if? And I made myself as still as I possibly could. This is a good exercise before prayer or speaking to God or or just even meditating on the problem and thinking about it, how to approach it. Just make yourself as still as possible. Remove all emotion as much as possible. We're emotional creatures. That's the hard thing to do. But it's funny because I was getting ready to make this video for a couple days now. I wanted to say this stuff, but I hope she doesn't mind. But my sister, she just applied for like a really good paying job, one that she wanted very, very badly, and had an extensive, application process and everything. She got hired on, and just a couple days before she started, I just found out about this. She was canoeing or fishing. She fell out of the boat somehow. I think she said she slipped onto some rocks. I haven't talked to her about this. I just saw her a group text conversation about it, and she's at work right now. I can't even talk to her, but she said that she slipped out of the boat or on the rocks and broke a couple ribs. Now this is like 2 days before the job started. So with a couple of broken ribs, she went through, and it's a manual labor job, and she pulled herself together, didn't say anything. We didn't even know about it. So she pushed through the pain, and she's doing really well. She's been there a few weeks. Says it's a difficult job, but she pushed through a couple broken ribs to do a manual labor job that she wanted very badly. And as far as I can tell, she did very little complaining. And I think there's power in that. And I hope she doesn't mind that I'm telling her story here. So sorry, welcome to YouTube. We also should remember that when terrible things happen, we don't have to be defeated. And if we sort of concede defeat, we don't have to stay defeated. That is not a final thing. We don't have to fail. We can fail and get back up, and fail and get back up. I mean, we've all heard this, but the memory, I was thinking about this a lot. The blessing of memory, just to be able to remember things, especially bad things. This is like a absolutely necessary component to wisdom. I mean, just imagine having to repeat the same mistakes over and over and over. But we don't do that because we have this repository, this internal containment repository of memories that we can selectively go back, rearrange, replan, reroute, reconfigure, and try it again. I mean, it's just so amazing that we can do that, and it's not a guarantee. I always think of the legend of Nebuchadnezzar II, I believe it was, but he was, because of his arrogance, he was the ruler of Babylon, and for 7 years, because of his arrogance, his mental faculties were just taken from him, and he lived like a wild animal, eating grass, just completely with no mind. And after the 7 years, of course, God brought him back. He, of course, remembered the 7 years clearly where he was in that state. This video is not really meant to dig into the punishment aspect of things, but just the blessing of being able to have a soul, I think that is one of the essences of a soul. It's like the repository of memory and who you are as an individual. I mean, it's indispensable. It's just, you can't even put, just crazy. It's just insane to think about how blessed we are to have that. And even in bad things, I mean, what if you were, given, or I'm sorry, had those memories taken and you lost that ability for trial and error and all that stuff? It's just amazing that we could do that. And if you're still alive and you're still breathing and you're here, then you're here. You have something, you have a purpose. We all have that. I'm telling you. And if you don't believe that, comment. I'd love to debate you on it, because I would like to tell you that you do have a purpose. There's something that God has planned for you. But we can't underestimate the power of our speech, our body language, our overall attitude when we approach these issues and problem solving. A lot of times we just have to get out of our own way. Our whole individual opinion, our emotional state, especially initially when we confront a problem, it's just irrelevant. A lot of times it's irrelevant because you're going to come back. If you use that wisdom to back off and get out of your own way, and maybe just back off the problem for a while, maybe that's precisely, maybe you need a break. And it's very important. I want you to try this if you have never tried this. Go back and climb that mountain, face that problem, go for that, position that you think is impossible or that you're not going to get. Go for it. You can do it. And you need to get out of your own way. Just felt like that needed to be said. Maybe there's some of you out here that this is exactly what you needed to hear. And please let me know. Let me know in the comments if this is spoken to you in some way. Things are coming on the world that are making it more difficult for people, and we all feel more separated. Technology has done this. Our phones have made us more antisocial. They've made us more less, it's made the younger generations less able to cope with social difficulties. And it's separating us in very subtle ways. Just wanted to put some hope out there and let people know that if you feel like you're up against the wall, you're not alone. You are not alone, okay? There's always someone nearby that can and will be willing to lend a hand. And if you can't find anyone, you put a comment in this video. I'll discuss it. I'll discuss it with you all day long. And you can lean on me. I've got a lot of stuff coming down the pipe. I'm working on, this is a little different from what I usually put out on the channel, but working on a video about the mystery of the Trinity, how God can be three and one at the same time. A lot of good stuff coming with that. I'm really excited about that one. And after that, I think I'm going to do a symbol breakdown of the all-seeing eye and the meaning of the symbol throughout different civilizations. Yeah, don't forget to like, share, like I said, comment. I'll talk to you all day about it if you've got the time. So I will see you all very, very soon. Much more coming. Many more videos on the way.